question's really inappropriate.
Should they? It's not inappropriate. This is the United States of America. Do you speak English? Should Americans speak English? Citizens speak English? Yes or no?
Point of inquiry: is English the official language of the United States? It's a question.
Mr. Chairman, I'm being interrupted again by
That's not a valid
another
parliamentary inquiry.
I would like to reclaim my time, Mr.
requirement?
Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reclaim my time.
She's
that
asking
seems
the
to be
witness.
a popular
She's
theme
asking-
today.
That's not a valid inquiry.
It's a point of inquiry.
Women have a right to speak in this committee. Conservative women have the right to speak here and not be interrupted by my male colleagues.
Already got that in his
Mr.
debate slot.
I would
Chair
like to
recognizes
reclaim
Ms.
my
Mace.
time. I lost like 10 seconds there.
Okay, we'll give you 10 seconds.
Okay, my next question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Bayou?
What you just watched is one of those moments in Congress that makes people uncomfortable, not because it's wrong, but because it refuses to tiptoe around hard truths. I'm Audrey, and this is Congress Lens. Representative Nancy Mace did not come to that hearing to perform, to posture, or to appease talking points. She came to demand answers. Answers about fraud, accountability, citizenship, and national security. And instead of getting clarity, what she got was deflection, outrage, and procedural gymnastics designed to shut her down. Whether you like her style or not, the substance of her questions matters. Fraud matters. Citizenship matters. And pretending those questions are inappropriate doesn't make the problem disappear. If you believe Congress should ask tough questions without apology, hit like, subscribe, and turn on notifications, because here on Congress Lens, we don't look away when things get uncomfortable. Now let's talk about what really happened in this hearing.
Thank you. As I listen to the witnesses answer questions today, I'm struck by the truly breathtaking amount of fraud, the scope and scale perpetrated against the American people by Somalians in Minnesota, screeching Democrats, like you just heard, at our witnesses. Democrats on this committee don't want to talk about Minnesota fraud because Minnesota fraud is Democrat fraud. You're going to make a great host on MSNBC. You're going to be great. And this is a cover-up. I mean, the very definition of cover-up. And so while we're still trying to understand the scale of the fraud, it appears that the amount of fraud we are talking about could exceed the size of GDP in Somalia, the size of its economy is what we're talking about. So let that sink in, the amount of fraud we're talking about. My first question is this, Mr. Bayou, this afternoon. Should Somalians in Minnesota be required to speak English, their citizens? Yes or no? Should they be required to speak English if they're American citizens?
I think that question's really inappropriate.
Should they? It's not inappropriate. This is the United States of America. Do you speak English? Should Americans speak English? Citizens speak English? Yes or no?
Point of inquiry: is English the official language of the United States? It's a question.
Mr. Chairman, I'm being interrupted again by
another
another
parliamentary inquiry.
I would like to reclaim my time, Mr. Chairman. Mr. Chairman, I'd like to reclaim my time.
She's
that
asking
seems
the
to be
witness.
a popular theme today.
That's not a valid inquiry.
It's a point of inquiry.
Women have a right to speak in this committee. Conservative women have the right to speak here and not be interrupted by my male colleagues.
Already got that in his debate slot.
I would like to reclaim
Ms.
my
Mace.
time. I lost like 10 seconds there.
Okay, we'll give you 10 seconds.
Okay, my next question is, should Somalians who committed fraud be denaturalized and deported, Mr. Bayou?
Again,
Yes
I'm not
or
sure
no?
that's an appropriate question because the majority of Somali
So if you
Minnesotans
commit
are
fraud in
citizens.
this country and you are here from Somalia, you don't believe they should be denaturalized and deported. How
Again,
much fraud would it take for you to want to denaturalize and deport someone who committed fraud in this country? How much?
Again,
A
Ms.
billion?
Mace,
9 billion? 19 billion? What would it take for you?
most Somali Minnesotans are citizens.
Right. And the ones that committed fraud, the question was, if you understand English, should be those who committed fraud, should they be denaturalized and deported? The Somalians who are here, the ones that can't speak English.
Yeah, so under U.S. law...
Okay, my next question for you
Can I please finish the question?
No, you can't because you're not answering the question. My next question is, this is yes or no. If you marry your brother and you commit immigration fraud, should you be denaturalized and deported? if you
Again,
commit immigration fraud? Yes or no?
Again, that question seems really inappropriate. And if I can get
Well, you
back to your
can't answer my question, so that's probably more inappropriate. Can you name one significant contribution to Minnesota from a Somali immigrant who can't speak English?
Absolutely, yes. But again, this is...
You didn't name one. All right, so my next questions are going to be for the Honorable Ms. Robbins. Good afternoon. Thank you all for being here today. I heard some discussion earlier about al-Shabaab. And the discovery that you believe some of this money that was defrauded the U.S. government went to al-Shabaab. Is that correct? Did I hear that right?
Yes, it's been proven.
How much money are we talking about?
You know, we don't have an amount. So there's been specific cases where it's been charged where we have an amount, but then of the millions that go to Somali over the years in remittances, a portion of that we understand is taken as sort of a tax or corruption by al-Shabaab when it enters the country.
Can you explain to us who al-Shabaab is?
It's a terrorist organization in Somalia.
And they're affiliated with al-Qaeda, is that right?
My understanding is they are.
I am on the DNI website where it tells me that since 2014, al-Shabaab has killed more U.S. citizens than any other al-Qaeda affiliate. And as of 2025, al-Shabaab, this group is al-Qaeda's wealthiest component. Can you believe that?
Yes.
And that American tax dollars through Minnesota, through Governor Tim Walz, who shamefully had to resign from his reelection the other day. Thank you to the young YouTuber Nick Shirley. This is the kind of thing that was happening in Minnesota. So I praise the Republicans who are here today from the Minnesota State Legislature exposing this fraud. And then, Ms. Robbins, when do you think Tim Walz became aware of the fraud?
I think he's been aware of it since the beginning. This was a huge issue in our state in the year he ran for governor, and the OLA reports came out, first identifying the child care fraud in March and April of 2019 when he was in the first months of his term.
Was Keith Ellison in on it too, knowledgeable, the Catholic turned Muslim guy in Minnesota?
Yes, they were all newly in office, and this was very public knowledge in Minnesota.
What role do you think Tim Walz and Keith Ellison played, his administration, in delaying investigations into the fraud?
So I've outlined several things where they stopped our ability to strengthen internal controls, and they also shut down the criminal investigations by the OIG and DHS.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I yield back. I do have two articles, Mr. Chairman, that I would like to ask unanimous consent. This one on foxnews.com, Minnesota fraud probe will expand to other states. And then on house.gov, legislators blast DHS for revelations that had contracts with feeding our future fraudsters.
Without objection to order, Chair,
Let's be honest from the start. Nancy Mace was not the aggressor here. She was the only one in that room consistently trying to pin witnesses down to clear, logical positions. And what stood out immediately was this. Every direct question was met with evasion. When Representative Nancy Mace asked whether American citizens should be able to speak English, the response wasn't a thoughtful explanation, it was moral outrage. But here's the reality. Asking whether a shared language is important in a country is not racism, it's civic practicality. English is the language of our laws, courts, ballots, and public institutions. Refusing to even engage that question tells you more about the witness than it does about Nancy Mace. Then came the fraud issue, and this is where the room really shifted. Nancy Mace wasn't accusing all Somali immigrants of wrongdoing. She was asking a very specific, very reasonable question. If someone commits massive fraud against the United States, should there be consequences? And somehow, even that became controversial. Think about that. The witness, Mr. Balu, repeatedly avoided answering whether individuals who commit fraud should be denaturalized or deported. Not because the law is unclear, but because saying yes would acknowledge that citizenship comes with responsibility. Nancy Mace pushed further, not emotionally, not recklessly, but logically. How much fraud is too much? Millions? Billions? At what point does accountability kick in? And there was still no answer. That silence is the most revealing part of this entire exchange. Then we get to the most serious issue of all, national security. The testimony confirmed that some of the money fraudulently taken from U.S. programs may have flowed overseas, with portions potentially benefiting al-Shabaab, an al-Qaeda affiliated terrorist organization responsible for killing American citizens. This is not speculation. This is documented concern. So when Nancy Mace connects the dots between fraud, weak oversight, and the possibility of U.S. tax dollars indirectly funding terrorism, she is doing exactly what members of Congress are supposed to do. Yet instead of urgency, what she encountered was resistance. She also raised questions about Minnesota leadership, including Governor Tim Walz and Attorney General Keith Ellison, asking when they knew and why investigations were allegedly delayed. According to the testimony, this fraud was publicly known early in their tenure, yet internal controls were weakened and criminal investigations were shut down. That's not a partisan accusation, that's a governance failure. What frustrated critics in that room wasn't Nancy Mace's tone. It was her persistence. She refused to accept vague answers. She refused to let procedure bury substance. And she refused to pretend that hard questions are somehow immoral. You don't have to agree with Nancy Mace on everything to recognize this. Accountability is not hate. Law enforcement is not discrimination. And citizenship is not unconditional immunity from consequences. If more members of Congress asked questions this directly, we might actually get fewer scandals and fewer cover-ups. That's what this moment represents. Not controversy for clicks, but clarity where there has been silence. And that's why this exchange matters.